the representative of former President Goodluck Jonathan, the representative of former Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, the Honorable Minister of Youth, Your Majesty, King Jaja of Opobo, the conveners of this program, led by PIA, thank you, Professor, ladies and gentlemen. Before I get into my speech, the pastor who spoke first, I want to appreciate your contributions and your point about conducive environment is cannot be overemphasized. And I just want to add to that that before we start working on the external conducive environment, we should focus on the environment of the mind. We have a very interesting way of how we seem to appreciate youth in this country, but at the same time, not quite encourage them as they should. Well, that is another conversation for another day. And to Professor Ahmed Adamu, your very interesting submission. What I could summarize from it, and correct me if I'm wrong, in this country we need to prioritize education above all. Education and health. And as we invest in the minds of our children and our citizens, as well as their health, we will see the transformative results that we so desire in this country. And now on to the topic that has been given to me, the role of the traditional institution in upscaling the fourth industrial revolution of nations. First of all, my first thought when I heard this was, it depends on the definition of tradition and the lens through which we see it. For this purpose, I will define tradition and want to include culture in this definition as the transmission of customs and beliefs from one generation to another. Precedence, style, method is established by the power center, the core, and once it's established, it is followed by those who come after it. For me, tradition is a living, breathing thing, which evolves as we go. We hold on to the aspects of it that keep us ticking, that keep us going forward. And we let go of the aspects of it that are no longer necessary in the times in which we find ourselves. While we have a sense that our traditions keep us safe and give us deep-rooted sense of identity, because our traditions are fundamentally part of who we are, especially in this part of the world, traditions are living and breathing. And as custodians of tradition and culture, we must understand that for us to remain relevant, not only to our people, but we are to be at the front and center, charting the way forward for our people. Tradition gives us identity. And from our identity, everything flows. The way we think, the way we speak, the way we interact, the way we procreate, the way we create. Here in Africa, traditional institutions, as I said earlier, are the custodians of culture. And if we want to stay true to originality, if we want to stay true to authenticity and not simply accepting the one-size-fits-all innovations that is coming from the West and the East, which, by the way, is also informed by their own sense of culture and identity. We will have to look to the source of how we see ourselves. The source must be fully aligned with the original design and purpose of why man was created in the first place. Sometimes we may not be fully clear as to if we are hearing from the Creator correctly, but we see his signature, the intelligence in nature, in creation itself. And nature, the only thing I can say that is older than the traditional institution, continues to replenish. It continues to rejuvenate. It continues to inspire. And we, as the leaders of traditional institutions, we must replicate this pattern. In other words, the way nature is set up, for you to survive, for the way nature is set up, you have to survive. You have to reinvent yourself. Otherwise, you risk being irrelevant. You risk dying off. There are some that would want to force the traditional institutions to remain in a particular sphere, in a particular space or realm, thereby confining us into some sort of living, breathing museum that is only given respect from afar. But as a king, whom my own people look up to for leadership, for direction, I expect and encourage them to be able to come to me in my palace and at least feel welcome to have a conversation about any and everything, especially important things like technological advancement. It is in such conversations that we will find mutually beneficial ideas. And these technological advancements can have the hint, the flavor, or the tint of our traditional imprints. I consider myself not just a custodian of culture, but a patron of the arts, a patron of the digital and tech space, a patron of sports, and other aspects of society. And this isn't difficult because the traditional institution has always been a meeting point of nature and culture, which has always inspired the civilizations of societies generally, historically. But I will not be trapped in history. I will inspire change where necessary, so that what is left for generations yet unborn can be enjoyed real time, so they do not have to go to a museum to see what once was. The young lady on the keyboard, when I walked in, she began playing that classical Western piece. I believe it's Canon in D major by Johann Pachelbel. And at one of the interludes, this very amazing choir, by the way, all-star ensemble, you are worth your name. They also gave a rendition of one of my favorites, What a Wonderful World. And as much as I enjoyed both renditions by the young lady and the all-star ensemble, I look forward to a day where we will hear as one of the things the traditional institution has inspired through AI, creating a new genre of music. Classical, African, traditional instrumentals. That will become as famous as Canon in D major and What a Wonderful World. We can do it, and we will do it. I just hosted a program in Abuja a couple of days ago, Elevate Africa, which is similar to some of the themes I have been hearing here this evening. If I had known that was the general theme coming, I would have just spoken to PIA and the entire Commonwealth and shipped all of you to Abuja. But here we are. I want to borrow from my prayers a few days ago at the conclusion of Elevate Africa. God's DNA is in all of us. The same creative power of the spoken word, which he used to create the world, is in all of us. He also tells us that the power of life and death is in the tongue. And on a third and final note, he has told us that where the word of the king is, there is power. And so on this tripartite foundation, I want to bring everyone in this room, especially our youth, into alignment with God's word and the authority that he has given me. I bless our youth with new lenses, with new insight, with new innovation, and with uncommon solutions. God's word over this nation has long been waiting, and now a king has spoken. Nigerian youth, African youth, I bless you with insight, with correct vision, I also bless you with vision as to your identity. I bless you with capacity and the ability to run, to overtake, and to overcome. And also for you to do it correctly. Because I know there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of disappointment, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of impatience. I pray that you are able to do it not fraudulently, but uprightly and righteously. Think outside the box and come up with revolutionary ways that changes the world. It will come from the African youth, and it will come from tech in the African youth. I thank you all for listening. God bless you.